Single dad gave a woman CPR on the beach, never guessing she was a billionaire falling for him. The salt air mixed with panic as Marcus dropped his daughter's sand bucket and sprinted toward the crowd gathering near the water's edge. His paramedic training kicked in before his mind could process the scene. A woman lay motionless on the sand, her lips already tinged blue, while tourists stood frozen in helpless horror. He didn't think about the consequences, didn't calculate the risks. He just ran because that's what fathers do when someone's child, someone's loved one, needs saving. What he didn't know as he dropped to his knees beside that pale, unresponsive woman was that this single moment of compassion would unravel both their carefully guarded worlds and rewrite every assumption they'd ever made about love, worth, and second chances. If this story touches your heart, please hit that like button, drop a comment sharing your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Pulse for more inspiring stories that remind us of the goodness in humanity. Your support helps us spread these messages of hope to everyone who needs them. Marcus Anderson had been a single father for 3 years, ever since his wife Sarah lost her battle with cancer. His daughter, 7-year-old Emma, was his entire universe. The reason he woke up at dawn to work double shifts as a paramedic, the reason he'd sold their house to pay medical bills, the reason he kept breathing when grief threatened to drown him. This Saturday beach trip was supposed to be special. A rare day off where he could watch Emma's gap-toothed smile as she chased waves and built sandcastles that would wash away with the tide but live forever in his memory. But the ocean had other plans, and so did fate. The woman wasn't breathing. Marcus immediately began chest compressions, counting out loud, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Someone call 911, he shouted, never breaking rhythm. 30 compressions, 2 rescue breaths. The crowd pressed closer, their phones out, recording this desperate dance between life and death. Marcus blocked them all out. Nothing existed except this stranger's survival, except the desperate prayer that he wouldn't fail, that Emma wouldn't have to watch another person slip away. On the second round of compressions, the woman suddenly convulsed, water spilling from her mouth as she gasped for air. Marcus quickly turned her on her side, supporting her head as she coughed violently, her chest heaving with the painful glory of breath returning to lungs. Her eyes fluttered open, striking green eyes that would haunt his dreams, and locked onto his face with an intensity that made time stop. "You're safe now," Marcus whispered, his hand gentle on her shoulder. "Just breathe. The ambulance is coming." The woman tried to speak, but Marcus shook his head. "Don't talk yet. You nearly drowned. Save your strength." Behind him, Emma stood clutching her stuffed dolphin, tears streaming down her face. Marcus reached back and pulled his daughter close, needing to reassure her that everything would be okay, that this stranger would live, that death hadn't won today. The woman they'd saved was Vivian Ashford, though Marcus wouldn't learn that until later. She was the reclusive CEO of Ashford Industries, a tech empire worth billions, and she'd come to this quiet beach town to escape the suffocating weight of a life built on money, expectations, and profound loneliness. She'd been swimming to clear her mind when a riptide caught her, pulling her under before she could cry for help. When she opened her eyes to see Marcus's face above her, sun-haloed and etched with concern, something shifted in her chest that had nothing to do with nearly drowning. For the first time in years, someone had looked at her and seen not a net worth, not a business opportunity, but simply a human being worth saving. Marcus rode with her in the ambulance, leaving Emma with a kind elderly woman from the crowd who promised to wait at the beach entrance. At the hospital, as Vivian regained her strength, she kept asking for the man who saved me. When Marcus finally returned to check on her before collecting Emma, Vivian gripped his hand with surprising strength. "Thank you," she said, her voice raw. "You didn't hesitate. You just helped." When was the last time someone did that without wanting something in return? Marcus smiled tiredly. "That's just being human," he said simply. "I'm glad you're okay. My daughter was pretty scared. She lost her mom a few years back. I think seeing you wake up, it meant a lot to her." He didn't mention the medical bills stuffed in his glove compartment. Didn't mention the eviction notice he'd received that morning. Didn't mention that he'd been contemplating picking up a third job, despite already running on empty, because none of that mattered. This woman was alive, and that was enough. Over the following weeks, Vivian tracked Marcus down through the hospital records. She showed up at the small apartment he shared with Emma, Not in designer clothes and a chauffeured car, but in jeans and a genuine smile, carrying flowers and a children's book about dolphins for Emma. "I wanted to properly thank you," she said when Marcus answered the door, confusion and surprise crossing his weathered features. What began as gratitude evolved into coffee, then dinners, then long walks on that same beach where fate had intervened. Vivian fell for Marcus's kindness, his gentle patience with Emma, the way he found joy in simple moments. A sunset, his daughter's laughter, a good cup of coffee. He never asked about her money, never treated her differently when he finally learned who she was. He'd fallen for the woman who cried during animated movies, who taught Emma about constellations, who understood loss because she'd been drowning in loneliness long before the ocean tried to claim her. When Marcus finally received another eviction notice, he tried to hide it, but Vivian found it crumpled in his truck. She didn't offer money. She knew his pride wouldn't accept charity. Instead, she offered partnership. "Emma needs stability," Vivian said softly, "and I need family. Not because I'm rich and you need help, but because you taught me that wealth isn't measured in bank accounts. It's measured in moments like this, in people who run toward danger to save strangers, in little girls who share their toys and hearts so freely." She paused, tears streaming down her face. "I was drowning long before that day on the beach, Marcus. You saved me in ways that have nothing to do with CPR. Let me be part of your life. Let me love you both. Not as a benefactor, but as someone who finally understands what it means to be home." Marcus pulled her close, Emma wrapping her small arms around both their waists. "You already are home," he whispered. Before we finish this beautiful story, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Pulse. Together, we can create a wave of compassion that reaches every corner of the world. The ocean that nearly took Vivian's life had instead given her a new one. Marcus didn't save her because she was a billionaire. He saved her because compassion doesn't calculate net worth before acting. Real love doesn't keep score. True family isn't always born. Sometimes it's built on a beach between strangers who become soulmates, between a man who had nothing but gave everything, and a woman who had everything but found meaning in the selfless heart of a single dad, who taught her that the greatest wealth in life is being someone worth saving and having people worth living for. In the end, they both discovered that sometimes you have to lose your breath to finally learn how to breathe, and that the most valuable thing anyone can give isn't money or status, but the simple, profound gift of showing up when someone needs you most.